Hi, this is Azim Jamal. We've been speaking about the corporate Sufi alphabet, A to Z series. Today we're going to focus on the letter S, and the word we've chosen for S is selflessness. Now, if you look at the corporate environment, you would think, selflessness? Are you kidding me? It's a competitive world out there. It's dog eat dog, and you cannot be selfless. You'll be bankrupt. The reality is this. Okay, if you are, for example, an employee or a leader, and you work in a selfless manner, meaning that you put yourself behind, but you put your work ahead of you, which means you now are focused on being like an owner, working like an owner, even though you don't make the profits, you just get a salary. But you work like an owner, you think like an owner, you behave like an owner, you make decisions like an owner. Guess what? First of all, you become a star because people will watch you, the owner will watch you and be impressed because he or she will find you somebody who walks, talks, breathes, lives like the owner, and goes the extra mile and does the right things and would do the same thing if it was his or her own money. And you become a star, so you shine, and the star shines the brightest when the life is more darkest or the environment is more darkest. And what happens is one day he'll be the owner or she'll be the owner, or he or she will become the MD or a very senior position because they are acting like that. So on the one hand, they're being selfless, but guess what? In the end, they will meet their needs more than people who are selfish. Selfish people think about themselves. They don't think about anybody else. So they just focus on me, 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 which means they're not good team players, which means that they are not really thinking of the ownership mentality. They're just thinking about what is in it for me. And in the end, people can see through them and realize that they're not really team players, they're not really supportive, they're not really leaders, they don't go the extra mile, they will find every opportunity to slack off. So really, being selfless can be a very powerful trait in a business environment. If you look at the personal life, in a relationship at home, if you're selfless, which means you keep the family ahead of you, if you keep the relationships ahead of you, you'll find actually that investment enhances your relationships, makes your relationships more harmonious, more loving, more gentler, and then work gets done much easier because that investment you've made in building trust really pays a lot of dividends in the end. Now, in this aspect of selflessness, sometimes if you look after your health, that's not selfish. That's selfless, because if you're healthy, you can help more people in life. So that may appear to be selfish, that I'm looking after myself, but actually it's selfless. If you are spend time reading and developing yourself and be a lifelong learner, that's not selfish. That's selfless, because the more learned you become, the more smarter you become, the more people you can help. If you spend time meditating and focus on your spirit, that's not selfish, that's selfless. Because the more inspired you are, the more inspiring you become to others. So you have to also look after yourself, otherwise you cannot look after others. And that looking after yourself is not selfish. I think this message applies a lot to women who really, like mothers, for example, they do a lot for everybody else, but sometimes they forget themselves. And when they forget themselves, they can become bitter, they can be nagging, because they are not looking after themselves. So they may be feeling that they're being selfless by helping everybody else, but in the end, they pay a big price. So if they looked after themselves, I would not regard it as being selfish. I would regard it as being selfless, because the more they're looking after themselves, the more they're able to give to others. So in the corporate Sufi approach, the word selfless is a very powerful word, and if applied in the appropriate manner, can really bring about the harmony of business, of balance, and of beyond.